We always hear people talk about Reconstruction, like it was this golden era for black people right after slavery ended. And to be fair, for a little while, it was. We were voting, we were buying land, we were getting elected to office, from local sheriffs all the way to the US Congress. It was the first time black folks were getting a real shot at the American dream. But if you've been following me, you know, right after we talk about the wins of Reconstruction, we're right back talking about massacres, riots, and lynchings. So the real question is, what happened? How did everything flip so fast? So let's break it down. It all started with something called the Mississippi Plan of 1875. Now, I know usually when we mention Mississippi, it's about how they're the last to do everything. But when it came to hatred and racism, Mississippi was one of the first. They created the blueprint for what we know today as Jim Crow. See, after the Civil War, the South was supposed to be rebuilding, but the old Confederates, they weren't trying to rebuild nothing but their own power. They realized they couldn't be black people fair and square at the polls. There were just too many of us voting now. So they cheated. The Mississippi Plan was simple: use violence to scare black folks and their white allies, use fake laws and intimidation to block us from voting, use fear to take back control. They burned down black neighborhoods, they beat and murdered people who dared to vote, they made it dangerous just to show up on election day. And it worked. Black voter turnout dropped fast. White supremacists took back control of Mississippi's government, and the rest of the South looked at Mississippi like, oh, that's how you do that. And they started copying it. Now, while all this was happening, there was a messy presidential election in 1876. The two men running were Rutherford B. Hayes, a Republican, governor from Ohio, Civil War vet, trying to clean up the Republican Party's image, and Samuel J. Tilden, a Democrat, governor of New York, known for fighting political corruption. The election was crazy close because people were tired of Reconstruction. The economy was bad after the Panic of 1873, and people were tired of political scandals from the last administration. Now, when folks say they were tired of Reconstruction, let's be real about what they meant. They were tired of fighting for black rights, tired of spending money to keep the South in check, tired of the South throwing temper tantrums every time something didn't go their way. And honestly, a lot of them were just tired of caring. And when I say them, I'm talking about the people in the North. So Tilden actually won the popular vote by over 250,000 votes. He was just one electoral vote away from winning the presidency. But there were 20 electoral votes still being fought over in Florida, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Oregon because of election fraud and shady tactics. To avoid a full-blown national crisis, the two sides made a backroom deal called the Compromise of 1877. The South said, we'll let Hayes win the presidency if you pull all the federal troops out of the South and leave us alone. The North agreed, federal troops left, and black folks were left completely unprotected. That's when Reconstruction officially ended, and white supremacists moved right back into power. No breaks, no rules, no accountability. Now, let's talk about Jim Crow real quick, because this is where he comes in. First of all, Jim Crow wasn't a real person. Jim Crow started as a racist character in an old minstrel show. White actors in blackface acting out ugly, stupid stereotypes about black people. Over time, people started using Jim Crow as a nickname for all the racist laws and rules that control black life. And yes, even while it was happening, folks called it Jim Crow. It wasn't something we made up later. People living through it knew exactly what it was: a system built to keep black folks at the bottom. Now, Jim Crow wasn't one big law passed by Congress. It was what you call de facto law, meaning it wasn't officially written down everywhere, but everybody acted like it was. And if you broke those unspoken rules, you could lose your job, get beaten, jailed, or worse. So when we talk about Jim Crow, we're talking about a whole system of racism, from voting restrictions to school segregation to everyday disrespect. That was baked into life across the South for almost 100 years. And it all started because of moves like the Mississippi Plan. Now, before you say that was a long time ago, let's bring it to right now. Every time you see polling places closing in black neighborhoods, voter ID laws popping up out of nowhere, voting rights being rolled back piece by piece, you're still looking at a modern version of the Mississippi Plan. It just swapped the white sheets and torches for business suits and paperwork. Same strategy, same goal, same story. Every time you like, comment, and share, you help keep stories like these alive. Remember to subscribe for more stories that they won't put in your textbooks. Peace.